when you take your family on a trip, when you had little kids, what was the thing they kept saying over and over?
Are we there?
Are we there yet? Yeah. So my students, my college students, every time you presented something new, they'd say, "Is this going to be on the test?" It drove me crazy. The nice thing about teaching theory is that everything is going to be the test, and I sadistically love telling them that. Everything you learn today, you've got to keep knowing in order to do what we're going to do the next day, and so forth and so on. You never learn something like you might in a history class, learn it, take a test on it, and then never see that again the whole semester. It's not what happens in a theory class, and it's not what happens in bells. As soon as you learn something, you're going to keep adding to it. And I like that kind of stuff because if I don't use it, it's gone. I lose it. So we're going to start with the basics, and this is not exactly how I ran this at my home, so we'll see what happens. The first thing we're going to talk about is what is absolutely necessary to have a decent handbell player. And the first thing that I think you have to do is to have well-adjusted bells. Okay? And that means that the bell will do what you ask it to do. Then you can figure out what you're going to ask it to do. Oops. Did you see what happened? How about this? I'm going to put this bell down on the table. And I didn't push it, I just put it down. It rings. And so you can't stop the bell from ringing. I mean, you could use your finger. How about this one? Too tight. In order to make it ring, you've got to really do it. Now, you're in the accompanying part of the texture, and you've got to play a really soft note, and you go, and then the melody is all lost because of it. Okay. How many of you have Malmark bells? Whoa, Schumrick country. How many have Schumrick bells? Whitechapel? Nobody. Okay. Well, what we're working with today are Schumrick bells. So, do you want to? No, I'm talking to you, Kathy.
Me?
Yeah. Kathy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If anybody has a question about adjusting Malmark bells, we can talk to Kathy. Raise your hand. I mean, you know how to adjust them.
Yeah.
I mean, there are two main adjustments that can happen on a handbell. Two main ones. One is you adjust the springs so that the tension on the springs so that it rings when you barely move it, and you stop without making any noise. Okay. It also needs to be adjusted so that you can do a shake really easily. Okay? Because this bell, you couldn't get that. It would be blah, 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 blah. So that's what you need to do, and that's what you do with the springs. And you have either a screwdriver for the Malmark bells, or you have a screwdriver. I mean a hex nut, hex wrench for the ones that are Schumrick. So we can tell you about that. The difference is that on the Schumrick bells, you adjust the tension for the ringing side over here, and you adjust the damping side or the back side of the bell on the opposite side. With the Malmark bells, it's on the same side. Okay, so you can talk with Kathy about that. So I'm not going to go through and do all the adjustments. Bob Avant, did you put the tool back in here?
Yes.
It's too neat. do this real quickly. Okay, I'll do that while we're doing something else. But what you do is adjust it so that you get it and it will ring just when you thump it over. I had it and I didn't know it. Okay? You can still ring loudly. You have the full range, but you want it to be able to ring when you just barely do. It's not quite right. Then you want to throw it back to make sure it doesn't ring on the back side. Okay, because that would happen. You pick it up and it rings. So you want to be sure it's that. But then you must shake it to make sure it shakes. Any questions about adjusting the bells? You're going to be frustrated. Your ringers are going to be frustrated, and you're going to get upset if they don't play quietly. And the problem is, it's not their problem. It's the adjustment of the bells. Okay, so I had a little, which one do I do here? My little picture down here that lets me move stuff is not on the screen for some reason. So there's a schematic. This is of a Hallmark bell, I believe. And you can go to the website of the Schumann Company or the Hallmark Company. It'll have this on there and tell you how to do it if you can't remember. Okay. So I'll just leave it. Now, there are certain attributes that we need in handbell ringers. After you get the bells adjusted, then you got to work on the ringers, okay? And my daughter chose all these pictures, and so this one is coordination. Ringers have to have two particular things, in my opinion. They have to have decent coordination, okay? And they have to have a sense of rhythm. If you've worked with kids, you all know how to check that out. Clapping and bouncing balls and doing things together on time. That's just, you just gotta have those. Okay, so this is what my daughter thought was a picture of coordination. And this is for her sense of time. So those two things. Now, what else would you really like for them to be able to do? Those two things I think are essential, and they're hard to teach, the first two things. So you need to work on that. Make sure you have those kind of people if possible. What would you like them to do, be able to do? Read rhythm. Read what?
Rhythm.
Rhythm. I didn't say read music, but read rhythm. Because in most assignments of bells, the left hand plays a space note and the right hand plays a line note. If you use a different system, that's okay, but mostly that's how it works. So you really just have to locate where they are right on the staff and point those notes out to them, and then they just follow that right along. Okay? Next thing, what would you say? It would be good if they had played some kind of instrument, because what does that do? Why is that important? I mean, why would you really like to have that?
Continuity. They can keep going if they make a mistake.
Right, keep going if they make a mistake. Very good. Something else?
Ensemble.
Ensemble. They've been used to playing. Their notes were part of the accompaniment, part of the melody, whatever. Okay, so they're used to that. They're used to working with the group. This is my daughter's idea of musicality. Feeling the music, being able to emote, being able to express themselves through music. All right. Let's see where I went from here. Okay, so once you've got those things in place, then the next thing we want to do is, oh no. Well, I'll go the other way. Nope. Next thing you need to do is have an orientation with your group. How many of you do that every year? One person? Kind of?
A little bit.
Okay. Well, when is it really necessary?
I'm in a
New
school.
ringers.
New ringers. You what?
I'm in a school.
You're in a
so
school,
I need
yeah.
kids to read.
How many of you have the same group for 25 years? So what does that mean, probably? You have experienced ringers and inexperienced ringers. Sometimes brand new, never have played a handbell in their life. And you know, even if they've had piano and organ and sung in the choir all their lives, it's a whole new ballgame with the bells. So that to me, people always ask me, how do you have a choir and you have these new ringers and the old ones are just so bored and tired and the new ones are frustrated because they can't keep up. So I think this is good for all your members, is to have an orientation. And what would that include? A respect for the bells. And how do you emphasize that respect for the bells? First of all, they're expensive. They cost a lot of money, so you have to take care of them. Be sure and wear your gloves. My daughter is. Yeah, how many, are there any groups in here that do not wear gloves?
Arnold Sherman's group that I ring with does not
You
wear
don't wear
gloves.
gloves?
No.
Yeah. I can't ring bells without gloves because it hurts my hands. And we borrowed some of these bells, and so you can see that they haven't been taken care of. They haven't worn gloves. They've got sweat and blood and tears all over them. And it etches the bell. So if you're not going to wear gloves, then you take care of polishing and getting them cleaned off. There are a lot of people who would just prefer, it's just too hard for them to wear gloves. Two different opinions, both right. Okay? And then here's something that a lot of groups forget about or don't know about. The oil in your hair will get on the bells. Okay, so those of you who have teenage girls, women, here's some hair over here. Okay, so what you make them do is just put it back, always behind, so that they're not damping on the hair. Okay, and that is another weird picture. Okay, and then you do what? You like Bob did this morning and clean the bells, okay? Polish, everybody know about cleaning bells? You all have groups, so you know about cleaning bells, right? You know that you do not put the polish on with the, did you bring cloth?
In the white bag on top.
Okay, okay. This is something that I replaced in my choirs every year. Brand new cloths every year, because you see how they get. You cannot wash them, and you cannot put polish on with these cloths. You use, well, I don't even know if they have those anymore, but we always use cloth diapers. And it's a soft material, and it really works. But any kind of thing like that, and you put the polish on, and then you rub it off. This is for after each rehearsal. Okay, and you have to be careful, because if you look at some of the bells, you'll see red all inside and everywhere. This is only if you can't wipe off, if a spot gets on there that's too tough for this side. Okay, and usually what you want to do is wipe up and down, not like this, because you put strain on the handle attached to the casting. Okay, so you go up and down. Now you may have to do this to get in this part. And then if you have a smudge that you just cannot possibly get, you carefully open this up and rub just that. And get that off, and then buff that out. Then you won't have any red residue. Can you see it on here? The red off of the rouge. Okay,
Mary Kay, what is that blue away? Is that a different kind of polish or?
you know what, I think that was just in the picture I got off the internet. I think that is the, for the handles. I'm not sure because I can't read that. Can anybody read that? I couldn't read it on there, so I'm sorry.
Did you know there's a company you can also get just a cloth that doesn't have a rouge cloth attached to it,
Uh-huh.
and just to kind of wipe them clean, and it,
Just a wipe and clean, yeah,
And
that
it
would
works.
be good. That would, and they're probably less expensive than the ones
well,
with the
they're
rouge.
not real cheap, but they'll probably play and uses them.
Uh-huh, that's a good idea, because I think the rouge part is overused,
Yeah.
and it ruins it, and that's the reason, the main reason why you have to do it. If you wipe your bells every day, you don't have to, I mean, every rehearsal, you don't have to do a lot of polishing. I had a little kid from Hong Kong, and all during the rehearsal, if he wasn't playing, he was just doing this. Obsessed with having this little thing. Okay. Here's something else you want for your group. What does that indicate to you? Huh?
Teamwork.
They made me want to cut out paper dolls.
This is an important thing for handbell, for a group. Okay, it's different from a choir, right? A handbell choir is really more like a football team than it is a singing choir. You wouldn't think that, but it really is, because each person has his own job to do, and must do his job well for the whole to become a good product, okay? And it's very important that you love each other, that you take care of each other, that you're not putting people down, you're thinking of their feelings in the group. Otherwise, you get tension that is irreparable sometimes. So that's very important. And you can do that by having a retreat together and seeing how everyone is learning. You can go on a trip together. That really is good bonding. Even if you just go to the next town and do a concert for, or play a few numbers for a church that does not have bells. Okay? Relationship is a really important thing. Now, after you get, you have your little orientation meeting, then you need to talk about the ground rules. Do you have ground rules in your group? What are they?
Be on time.
Be on time. And that means the director too. Everybody start and stop on time, okay? And they'll get used to that. You know, in fact, in my choirs, if they came in late, they were so embarrassed. They just cringed in, you know. So, what else? No gum. Nobody should be allowed in the handbell room with gum, because you'll see a lot of bells that have little pock marks all over it, and that's basically what it is, the sugar off of that gum, or even if it's no sugar gum, it's still the gleek that happens, okay? Okay, and also no food and drink. In my groups, they just knew they didn't walk in the door with anything to eat or drink. They just left them at the door, and I think that's a good thing. I did have one guy who was chewing gum, that I didn't see him when he came in, was chewing gum, and then all of a sudden he went, ah! And he had spit the gum down into the bell, and instead of, you know, taking his glove off, he stuck his glove down in there to get it out, and then it just strung all over everywhere. Anyway, that cured the rest of them. They didn't want that happening to them. Okay, and this is an important thing. Having fun is part of the deal. If you're not having fun with it, then you might as well just quit. Okay, I'm not type A. I'm a very serious person with my music. I want everybody to do it right, and I want to work with them until they can do it right. But we also had great fun in my groups. Great fun. You have to know that rehearsal time is limited and precious. and nobody should waste anybody's time, okay? When the director cuts off, what does that mean? The director has something to say, or she wouldn't have stopped. He wouldn't have stopped, okay? So everybody's got to listen to that. You can't say, cut them off and say, you know, I just would wait until they got through, and pretty soon they didn't do that anymore. But it's really important to establish that kind of a habit first, and then you have fun between times, okay? All right, even if you don't have on a habit. Next thing is that this is an equal opportunity activity. Everybody needs to help polish bells, haul equipment, whatever. And there are polishing bells. Okay. Do you have polishing parties? No?
Yeah.
We're going to next
Yes.
month.
Yeah, especially the first of the year. Should have just have a party. Everybody comes. You just find a time when everybody can be there. You could maybe have it at the first rehearsal time and get the bells ready to go. And we usually have an assembly line. But it's really important. I had 2 or 3 ringers who loved to do it, and they would just come up and do it. But it's really important for everybody to be involved in that, because they need to know how to do it. And they didn't know what things happen if they don't take care of that.
Did you take yours all apart like that to polish them, like that picture?
No, we didn't unless we got, sometimes people put polish in here and it gets caked in there and they don't get it wiped off, and so we take them apart, something like that, but most we don't. But if you do take your bells apart and you know how to do that, then make sure you have everything that goes with this bell right here together, and the next one and so forth. I have a guy who comes to my, I don't do bells anymore, but I had a young man who came to the church or came to the school and refurbished my bells every year. Because my college choir met 4 days a week, and that's a lot of wear and tear on the bells. But he took them apart, and he also changed any kind of spring of the bumpers or the washers or whatever that needed to be changed. And you can send them back to the factory. That's really expensive. And there are people, you can look online, there are people who go around and do the bells, but you can figure out how to do it yourself, and there are plenty of help. The Schumer representatives or the Malmark representatives can come to your place or talk to you on the phone or give you some help. Okay, any other questions about that? Oh, let me get back. Sorry. Yeah, this is what I was talking about when you have some inexperienced and some experience. And you have a mixed bag, okay? And if that happens, then you have a rookie camp. I've done this so many times. You really frustrate a new ringer. It's going to take them twice as long to get in with the group, to get up to speed with the rest of the group, if you don't meet with them separately. Sometimes you have more than one, and that's good. If you have a ringer, an experienced ringer who's kind and patient, you might have them come in as well, and you have a few more, and they can be a mentor. Work with the group as you're teaching the new things, okay? And this should happen, in my opinion, way before you start rehearsals with the whole group. Just meet with them separately as if it were your regular rehearsal time. In fact, that might be a good time to make sure they had that time free. Meet with them, and here are some of the things that you might do. No, the things that we might do are on your the basic skills. Teach them about healthy ringing. You know this book? It's, they have them, or they're supposed to, in the bookstore up here. It's by Susan Berry. This is a great book on stretching and preparing your body for this thing that we do that gives us carpal tunnel and tendonitis and all that. This will help you to alleviate some of that or avoid it altogether. All right? Then you teach the basic skills. I don't know whether to go through all this or not, but anyway, start. I think that this is a good way to teach. Very quietly. If you teach them to go and all these bad habits, it's just a straight line with your thumb pointing forward, and it's just an easy thing. You just kind of thump it over, and at the end of this elliptical shape that you're making, then you head the bell back to this position. So you're just making this elliptical shape, okay? And then you need to learn to damp on the shoulder, making sure that this part of the casting is stopped. See how long that lasts if you don't do that? It's even worse for some of the larger bells. That's going to bleed over into whatever's coming after that. So you want to be sure you get that. Okay? You just have to find a place where you have a lot of, well, maybe we shouldn't go there. Just be sure you get it stopped. Okay? And it's right in there that you have to have it stopped. Okay. And I would, from the very beginning, teach them to dampen on the table. From the very beginning. We do this so much so that when they have to change bells, they're not really comfortable putting the bell down. So, fast damping, okay? Right on the table. All the exercises that you do, make sure they learn to damp on the table. When it comes time for you to go from F to F sharp in your part or whatever the accidental is, you already know how to do that. Or the ringer already knows how to do that. Okay? Dynamic control. You could have a grid. Pianissimo, piano, mezzo piano, piano, wherever I am in that deal. Okay, mezzo forte, forte, fortissimo. Okay, and then practice doing that. 4 notes at piano. If you get better at the work. This is a little close this time. Now, yell out something.
Forte.
What?
Forte.
Forte?
Mezzo piano.
Huh?
Mezzo piano.
It's okay. You just have to keep working until you know how your bell works, how it responds to your particular stroke. You need to do that. Back when I was talking about ringing the bells, I didn't mention that we need to also teach them to ring. The stroke should be the same size as the value of the note. In other words, if it's a quarter note, if it's a half note, you don't go 1, 2. You make the stroke take up that whole amount of time. 1, 2, and back. Okay? If it's a whole note, 1, 2, 3, 4, and back. If it's a quarter note, 1, 2. An eighth note, closer to the body. Okay? And 16th notes and so forth. Getting better? Can you hear the pedal? Okay? You want it all to happen at the same time. So you have to get used to what your bell will do. Alright? And when it's going to actually make a sound. So that we can all do it together. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. And also another thing you don't do is this. 1, 2, 3. What is it? Let's sing Star Spangled Banner. Here we go. Ready? What did you do? You took a breath. Okay. So you do the same thing with the bell. You go 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Okay. So be sure you work on that as well. All right. Let's see. If you have everybody get C, E, or G, or A. C, whatever's closest to you, C, G, E, or A. And just one bell will be fine right now. C, E, G, or A. Just C. Here you go. Okay, now, from you on, just step that way a little bit. Step that way. All of you. Okay, and then starting with blue shirt, you step that way, please. All of you move down a little bit. Okay, yeah, and you can just be with that group. Just take a bell. Okay, now I'm going to point to you when it's your turn to ring, okay? Here we go. And you just keep ringing quarter notes unless I give you an indication to ring something longer. Ready? Go. And the object is to learn as a team to play together. Ready? Go. I'm going to stop and it's somebody else's turn. Okay, I didn't make myself clear. I'm going to point to your group when I want you to play, and when I point to another group, then you dance. Everybody get that? Okay, here we go. We'll start with you down here this time. Here we go. All the way down here, ready? Now, I noticed that some of these guys down here, I guess their bells are really heavy because they rang and then they went waiting for the next one. You know, be ready because then when I got ready to do it again, it was too late to get there. Okay, some of those kinds of exercises you can do to make sure that everybody plays together. It's not going to happen the first day, so just keep doing that as maybe as a warm up. Okay, you see the ring. That you give them some opportunities to ring without reading music. Because you know what happens? They get these beautiful strokes going, and then you put music in front of them and they're going. Okay? So we've got to separate that. So what do you do? Do any of you have any things that you do pre-reading?
We'll ring chords, like kind of like you did. I'll assign X bells and we'll ring those. Sometimes we'll alternate between two chords. The other thing I do is ring scales because scale patterns are hard and easy for ringers to follow. Of course, it doesn't help the person before you misses a note, but we'll just go up and down the C major scale, 10 and 20 times.
Yes.
And I'll sing the notes as we go so that everybody knows where we are.
Yeah. Well, I think scales are the best thing to learn. That's a good point there because everybody can hear when somebody's late, when somebody's rushing, when somebody doesn't dampen when they're supposed to, and so forth. So another thing you can do is, like she said, chords. And so if we had C, E, G down here, why don't we do that? C, E, G, you all find a C, E, and G. And you find an F, A, and C. F will be the lowest note, and C will be the lowest note. And then you'll find G, B, and D. And let's see. Number one, we'll do C, E, G. I was doing this in a different key, but we'll do C, E, G. Number two is D, F, A. Number 4 is F, A, C, and 5 is G, B, D. Okay, here we go. And we'll just practice this. Now, I'm going to do this, and then when I'm ready for the next one, already I'm going to do this before we get there, but you just keep doing quarter notes, okay? All right, let's go with the C's. Ready? Go.
I forgot what it was.
4, F, A, C.
Oh.
F, A, C. Okay. At 4. At 5. And 2. Okay, that's good. Now, here we go. We're going to play a song. Ready? Here we go again. Sing. Okay, so you can do that with kids, with senior adults. Just make up the chords that you need to have. Jesus loves me, they're just 3 chords. There are a lot of contemporary Christian songs that are just 3 chords. And so you can think of a lot of them. Okay, now look at, and you were responding to my hand. We're going to do this piece in the class on using music in worship. But let's have a G3, okay? And then let's have A, everybody can play. G, you get either a G, an A, a B, a D, and an E. G, A, B, D, E. We need G to be the lowest note. Are you ready? Okay. Now I want you to just random ring. Okay? Just ring whenever. Somebody keep going all along. And some of you can go shake a little bit, and some of you can go da-da-da-da or fast or whatever. Some of you can do it like the G. You just keep going. Okay? Now, do you know the tune, Come On Christians Be Committed? Okay, so be in G.
Can't remember what they are.
Okay, go. So he's going to start. We'll just have him do that. And here we go. Come on, processional. So that works fine, nobody has to think, we're just doing it. Now, if you get to a random ring like that, any pentatonic songs that have just those kinds of notes, 1, 2, 3, I'm sorry, yes, 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6. Do you have any of the pieces that have just those notes in the melody, Amazing Grace, any of those, will work with this pentatonic ringing. And I would have the lowest bass note as one of the key rings. Okay, next, pick out the sheet that I have. Oh no, one more thing I was going to say. You can get out that sheet that says beginning to read. Okay, how many of you know about these books? Okay. Well, let me tell you about these. This is called Ring Along Christmas Favorites. You notice that each book is a different color. So each book is a different tone. This is a B flat, this is a D, this is an A flat, and so forth. And you open it up, and there's not a note in it. It's words with circles and lines. Okay, we take these to the nursing home at Christmas time and do Christmas carols to the nursing home. But this is a good pre-reading activity. If the bell has a circle, if the word has a circle, you ring on the circle. If it does nothing, if it has nothing, you do nothing. If there's a line underneath it, you dampen. That's all there is to it. So this one is, "Oh, come, all ye faithful." This particular one doesn't even have a line. And joyful and triumphant, oh come ye, oh come ye. So you just do what it says. Circles, lines. If we have time, we can do.
So there are 8 books?
There are 8 books. You have to be really careful because they have the A flat and there's another one that doesn't play very much. It's a A, I think, A flat and A. Some of the pieces have A flat and some have A, so you have to be careful.
So is every song in the same tonality, or
Pardon?
is every song in the same tonality, or?
No, it just depends. They have starting notes up at the top. Sometimes the starting pitch is F, sometimes the starting pitch is B flat, and so forth. So it's basically just 2 or 3 keys. But they're all singable, we've sung them before. And you can have one book and have 3 people reading off of it. So there's also one hymns and one,
There's
Oh.
about 6 of them now.
Oh, there-
They're coming out with a second Christmas one.
Yeah.
I think one's American favorites.
they're supposed to have these down at in the bookstore.
What are
I
they
asked
called?
it to be put there. Pardon?
What are they called?
It's called Ring Along, and it's Christmas favorites or folk tunes or hymns, whichever volume you want. Check down there. It's by Artist Freeman, composer, and by Pentatonic Press. So I'll leave these out for you to look at. All right, now look at this book. We're gonna, after we've done all these pre-reading things, now we're gonna start reading music. We've already taught them to ring and damp, right? So when they start reading, I don't know whether you, when you start having them read music, you must be sure that you choose music. That's good. And there's a whole selection, a whole class the next class about the first section of it is choosing music. So we'll get to that later. We won't spend much time on that. But you have to pick something that works for the abilities of your group. Now this particular sheet that I made up, and you're welcome to keep that. The first section, everyone rings, and it starts out with simple rhythms and gradually gets harder. This is just an example of what you might do. You might do the simple rhythms over and over and over until they learn those counting very well. Then every hand that rings always gets to dampen before the other hand gets to ring, okay? So that you don't have this difficult coordination problem of ringing one right as you're damping the other. We'll do that one just in a minute. Okay, then the next section is where you have learned to dampen, okay? And everybody's doing the same thing. Then the next section is what? Reading notes within a melody line, and you notice I've put them larger for the bells that we're assuming that we have. And then the last one is reading the notes within the chord texture. Now you won't get to have yours highlighted or in a larger note head, but at least that gives you an idea about how hard it is to find your note within a texture like that. And that needs to be presented to them gradually. So let's just do a couple of these. Everybody, no matter what bells you're standing in front of, your left-hand bell, and do all white notes. Your left-hand bell is A, 5, second space, and your right-hand bell is B, third line. Okay? This as well, okay? Real quickly.
Yeah.
Here we go. You have just one, you have 2 bells. You have A and B, whatever your 2 bells are.
Pretend.
A and B. Huh?
Pretend they're A and B.
Yeah, pretend, this is pretend. No, it doesn't matter. It's whatever 2 bells you have. So you can have C and D. You have C and D, but you just read that as if, do you have the music? Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now, wait, everybody, you have a white note? No accidentals?
We're often assigned,
Huh?
we're often assignments over here, so I think
You're what?
we're often assignments.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Just any 2 bells that are white notes, no accidentals. It's gonna be cacophonous enough. 2, ready, go. That's better. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2,
B and a C.
That's perfectly fine.
Okay, so B is an A or a B?
Well, don't worry about that, just pick up the two bells and don't even look at them,
Okay.
you don't even know what they are. Does your left hand is A?
It sounded so bad, I thought.
Yeah, well, the half steps are gonna be a problem, but we aren't worried about that. Okay, here's where you can practice with these. You can practice, damping on the shoulder, you can practice damping on the table, you can practice making sure everybody gets exactly at the same time, you have precision, practice with that. Anything else? What else? Well, anyway, with this one, then you gradually get harder. Now let's look at the next one. Before we do that, I want to show you how I teach, learning to ring a legato. Okay, that's a very hard thing because they either go or they go. Okay, so what I do is, everybody take two bells, and you put the right bell by your shoulder, okay? And you're going to ring this bell. I'm sorry, you're going to take the right bell and you're going to press it into your shoulder from very close in. Press, right in time. Here we go. Press, 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 press. As you're pressing, then we're going to do a stroke with your left hand. Okay? We still do this press, but we're going to do this together. Ready? Ring. Bell by your shoulder, you're going to go press, 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 ring, ring, ring. Let me see that upward movement. That's it. Good. Now let's stop. We're going to do this very slowly. Follow me. Left bell, bring it back ready to press, and together. Bring this one back ready to press. And bring it in, and keep doing that a little faster and a little closer to the body. And faster and faster and faster and faster. Good. You see what I mean? That way they don't have to learn it all by themselves. It's just now that's not going to happen the first time you try it like it did here. Because you all already ring bells, you already know how to do that. But that's a very difficult concept for them to take. Okay, be seated. A couple of other words I want to tell you about. Also, how many of you are members of the American Guild of English Handbell Ringers, which is now being changed over to the Handbell Musicians of America? How many of you are already members of that? Okay, that is a very good thing. If you, I could give you a website is agehr.org, and they may change that when I don't think it officially is till October, yeah. So, but those of you who are members, what are the advantages? Number one.
Support network.
Support network. You have friends that you can visit with. Okay, what else?
Publication.
Pardon?
The publication.
Publication. Okay. Every month you receive a packet that has new music from that publishing company, plus the CDs to listen to. Okay? That is worth a whole lot, because that's how you can choose your music. You can just listen to those things in your car as you're driving to work or whatever. And that comes from a whole bunch of different publishing companies. I don't know exactly how many now. I get a lot of them just because I do this kind of stuff. But that's one of the most valuable things. Also, what else?
The seminars.
Seminars.
Educational.
Events. They have events for beginning conductors, they have advanced groups, they have festivals that they provide, and you get a reduced rate. If you're not a member, you pay more to go to those things than you do if you are a member, okay? And there's a mentor in some states. I guess we still have that in Oklahoma, Texas. It's a mentor deal, so a relationship, so that if you need a lot of help with your handbell choir, you can get one of these mentors to come to your group and help work with you and so forth, that kind of thing. Anything else?
Articles themselves.
Oh, the magazine. I'm on that board. Why didn't I say that? The magazine, Overtones magazine. Articles on all kinds of things pertaining to bells. And there's a review column, which I am in charge of. They review music of different categories. And they're usually in the middle of the magazine. There's some helpful hints or some desk hands you might use in church, or that's just some free stuff that's within that. There's some ringer things. There's church music column. There's an educational column. All kinds of stuff. And that's a big thing. Thank you for mentioning that. Okay, so I have a deal about this. If you'd be interested, I'll have it here for you to look at to see how you.
What was that website again?
It's on here. It's AGEHR, American Guild of English Handbell Ringers .org.
Depending on your area, there can be workshops.
I'm sorry?
There can be workshops and things too in your area
Yeah.
of AGHR.
Some of these people just got back. Did you go to national? Yeah. They went to the national seminar, which is great. You get to meet a lot of composers of the music that you play through the year, and they have wonderful concerts by some of the best groups in the countries, in the world, actually. A lot of them come over to that. They have a chance to ring. Everybody who goes is supposed to be in a ringing group, and it's just a wonderful experience. So I didn't get to go this year, but anyway, if you're interested in that, there's that. Also, the basic training materials. This is Benita McGorman. I'll have these out if you want to check on them. But this is the one on rhythm, but she also has just a basic training for bells. This starts with the very basic rhythms and ways to teach the kids, teach anybody. These are primarily for young ringers, but they work for everybody. And there are all sorts of books. This series is old and they have a lot to it, but this book starts out with everybody ringing exactly the same thing. No melody. You have the melody played on a flute or whatever you have in your group, okay? But everybody has the same rhythm. That's the way it starts out. Whole notes and half notes, that gets them started. Counting where you don't need, where they're not having to think about a lot of other things. Ring and read simple rings. There are a whole bunch of these out. And then Michael Keller has a book which I've used a lot. It's called, I think I put it on here, did I? Yeah, Developing Coordination Skills. It's at the bottom of your second page. And these are rhythmic exercises and also coordination exercises, and so forth. Okay. I don't know whether I got through all of this or not. Anybody have questions? Anybody know how I can get this so I can see this arrow right over here?
I think it's a resolution issue.
Oh, there's some coordination skills. I want you to see that. This is when you're doing the warm-up skills that my daughter found these too. This is a warm-up. This is not how I intended to do these. Okay, there she is. And stretching. But this is my favorite. There's a healthy ringing book.
Just in time.
And we did all those. And this is ringing without just went right past all these. And there's the book I talked about, Michael Keller, Developing the Coordination Skills. And the rhythmic training. She also has, I already told you that, never mind. And this is just how to teach some simple rhythms. Make them see that they're every 2 equals 2. I mean, every 2 equals 1. And then note the numbers in parentheses are the numbers that you don't do anything. You still count, but you don't do anything. So that's a good way to start. And then the next one is a little more complicated. You may not know this, but non-musicians, if they've had no music training, they have a hard time changing from a simple meter to a compound meter. They want to still say and it doesn't go that way. Okay, so my suggestion is that you just use whole different syllables, set of syllables for compound meters, and you go 1 la li, 2 la li, or 6/8. Okay, and you think of it as 2 beats in the measure. You know, when you learned time signatures when you were younger, did you say 6 beats in the measure and an 8th note gets a beat? It's not really, it doesn't happen that way real often. It's more 6 8 notes in the measure. Okay, 6 8 notes in the measure, and the emphasis really is every 3. So you have 2 beats in the measure, and a dotted quarter gets the beat. But yeah, I think the 1 la li works. It takes it completely away from the simple meter syllables, rhythmic syllables. And then when you have 16th notes, which you won't have for a long time if you're starting with a beginning choir, then you can say 1 ta, ta after each one. So you have 1, everybody over here say 1 la li, 1 2 la li. Go ahead. 1 la li. And you say a ta after each one of those. 1 ta la ta li, 2 ta la ta li, 1 ta la ta li. Okay, and then you have all the different possibilities in 6/8, like 1 la ta li, and 1 ta li, and 1 ta la li, 1 ta la ta li, 1 la ta li. All of those can be taught just by getting that 1 la li started, and you won't overwhelm them.
Is this from the Developing Coordination Skills book?
It's just me. I wrote that.
You have that printed out.
If you want a copy of that, any of these materials that I did, if you want a copy of it, you can write it down on a piece of paper and give it to me, and I will email it to you. I have to make a PDF of it if you don't have Phenolic, and I'll send it to you.